Welcome to Long Beach 2000. This is a public affairs program that examines issues of concern to our community. I'm Larry Allison, editor of the Press-Telegram, and with us this evening are 7 distinguished guests representing a variety of opinions and interests. And we'll begin by introducing these guests. First, John Blowitz, publisher of the Grenion Gazette. Clarence Smith, City Councilman, City of Long Beach. Paul Williamson, a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission. Joseph Brooks, President of the Public Corporation for the Arts. Stephen Garrett, Director, Long Beach Museum of Art. David Levinson, a music critic and editorial writer for the Press-Telegram. And Carla Gordon, who's a member of the Executive Board of Long Beach Ballet and just recently has become a member of the Public Corporation for the Arts Board. Now, before we begin, we're going to see a brief documentary produced by Dave Kelly. And here now is that story.
One way to measure how well a city serves its residents is by analyzing the quality of life offered in that city. Quality of life includes the availability and access to the arts, entertainment, and recreation. Long Beach certainly offers a diverse mixture of all of those elements.
Time marches on, and soon it's plain. You've won my heart and I've lost my brain. It's delightful, it's delicious, it's lovely.
As everyone in this city should know by now, there are 4 professional performing arts groups here. The ballet, the symphony, the opera, and the civic light opera have all carved out a niche in the local art scene. For visual art, there is the Long Beach Museum of Art and its annex for video art. For years, there has been talk about building a new facility for the art museum. The latest proposal calls for a space above the parking lot of a new office building. Additionally, on the arts landscape are a number of smaller galleries and the University Art Museum at Cal State. Community theater groups also flourish in the city. Overall, the commitment to variety in the arts is impressive. Public Corporation for the Arts Director, Lindsay Shields, says that considering its population, Long Beach is virtually unrivaled in regard to cultural offerings.
In my experience, and to my knowledge, there is not a city the size of Long Beach that has the arts and the quality of arts that we have to offer. I belong to a National Assembly of Local Arts Agencies, and they can't even show me where another city of this size has the amount to offer that we do. This is something to be terribly proud of, because even though the arts have their up and downs like any nonprofit business, the major performing groups and like the community players have been here for many years and will continue to be here, and that can only happen through community support.
A problem, though, is sustained large financial backing.
One of the biggest problems is corporate support for the arts. In any large art center, you have major corporate support for the arts. And in Long Beach, we do not have that many corporations in town yet. So this is the thing that we'll look forward to in the future.
Living in the shadow of Los Angeles poses certain other problems for Long Beach-based arts groups. Civic Light Opera producer Martin Wiviot told us of one such concern.
We wanted to hire an actor to come to Long Beach to do Dreamgirls, and the agent said, no, the actor doesn't want to leave town right now. This is an actor who lived in Los Angeles, and the agent's conception of Long Beach said, the actor, they're up for some television pilots, and they don't want to leave town right now to go to work in a play. And I said, we're 30 minutes away from downtown Los Angeles, but it's that conception, you're another town.
Wiviot and others believe that the addition of condos, shops, and restaurants are necessary in the downtown area to foster more of a nightlife environment. Recreation along the water includes entertainment at the Queen Mary. The annual Jazz Festival is a complement to the city's cultural life. Residing near the ocean has other advantages for local residents. Windsailing, boating, jet skiing, and sandcastle contests are all possible when you have a beach in your backyard. But there's more to quality of life than entertainment. There is a need for open green spaces and parks so that people can escape the beehive sensation of high-density living. Long Beach has several spacious parks. However, some youth counselors say there aren't enough parks or programs or dollars to keep young people out of trouble. As for taking advantage of all of the services and entertainment in Long Beach, if one isn't completely satisfied with the local scene, it's always possible to visit the Orange County amusement parks or the museums in Los Angeles. Because the competition for the entertainment dollar is so intense in Southern California, Long Beach groups will continue to have a big job on their hands when it comes to marketing and advertising what's available here. It's both a blessing and a curse to be amidst a metropolitan community that offers so much for so many. This is Dave Kelly for Long Beach 2000.
Thank you, Dave. Well, let's begin. John, you are a publisher of a weekly newspaper in Long Beach. What does the quality of life look like to you? Are you pleased with it? Dissatisfied with it? How would you assess it?
Well, I think Long Beach has come a long way in the mere 7 years that we've lived here. I think the arts are flourishing. I think the problem is to think that positively about it, we could become lax. I think we have to keep driving it, and like the documentary said, it's not just corporate support that's needed. We need, larger attendance and larger input from the community, a lot of volunteer time. But I think the arts round out the city. A city needs a ballet company, a civic light opera, symphony, art galleries, and all the other recreation to be called a city, just like churches or schools. I think it's a keystone of the quality of life.
What would you like to see happen next? Or anything missing in that mix from your point of view?
Well, there is no top in creativity. Creativity never ceases, and I think that all our institutions, in terms of their how they perform, they have a ways to go. They have a way to go in New York City or in Milan or anywhere. But from what I read and from what I hear from the people who read my newspaper, Long Beach is artistically respected in that quality of life segment throughout the region and in some cases throughout the country.
How about parks, recreation programs? They seem adequate to you? Or
I'm not the best judge of that. The Grunion Gazette is located in the southeastern part of the city, in the Belmont Shore, Naples area, and the quality of life in that area is obviously quite nice. There are plenty of parks. From the documentary, the boats were down in Alamedas Bay. So I don't hear people down in our part of town crying out for more quality of life items, and I think they're needed in other parts of the city for sure. I know that people in our community are the highest area of volunteers in the city, and they don't just volunteer for what's going on in the convention center. They're all over town in all groups that are improving the quality of life in Long Beach.
Councilman Smith, you may have a different point of view. You've spent a good deal of your life in the field of parks and recreation. Does the system seem adequate to you in Long Beach?
I think Long Beach, in comparison to the other city, has one of the better recreation program at the same time, and the better arts program. At the same time, I think we need to pay more attention to the graduation of low-income people, minorities, into the arts, the visual and the creative arts, as they come to the downtown area, so they can be more sensitive to those types of activities, so we can have more coming down to the downtown area to take advantage of those various arts programs. At the same time, and in terms of the area that I represent mainly, recreation is something that if you can't afford to pay for it, you can't afford to enjoy it, because you can't have it, especially between the ages of 13 and 18. We just do not have the funds at the present time in the city to provide the type of leadership on our parks, nor do we have enough open space and some in the urban area of our city. On the East Long Beach and Naples, we do have that. But when you're talking about the west side and the central area of town, you're short of open space and you're short of leadership. And one of the things that I'm working on right now, and I have a meeting on Tuesday, is finding ways of funding some of our youth programs on our after-school playgrounds and on our municipal parks, because it is at this time in a pretty bad need of leadership and activities, so that the kids would not gravitate to the gang activities that seem to be really increasing within the Southern California area.
Well, no doubt the city could do a good deal more if there were more money. But what about, do you think we got the priorities straight? What about the money that is available? Do you think it's being used appropriately, or should something be done differently to provide more opportunities?
Well, I suppose it's like everything else when Proposition 13 came along. The most pressing needs was police and fire, and the other public works and things of this nature. Youth program is not a high priority sometime when you have to make choices in terms of how the best way to spend your monies. And I think the voters and others in our community decided that when Prop 13 came along in 1978, that recreation was not a high priority. So the program we had going at that time was cut in half in terms of dollars. And we're trying to now build back up to that. We even closed some of the playgrounds in North Long Beach and Central Long Beach because we didn't have the funds for those. We've opened them up now, but we open up with small staff. So consequently, we're trying to build into that, and we must find funds that the voters will buy into, to say we'll be willing to tax, whether it's the developers or really to tax whatever we can tax in order to provide a fund for youth. I think the school playgrounds will be closing next summer. They would not be having any leaders on the playgrounds, on school grounds, starting in 1988, 89. So those kind of things are going to impact the community more drastically next year. So it's a situation that we have to find ways of providing these young people with some alternatives. And at the present time, the alternatives are quite limited.
Well, Mr. Williamson, how about your perspective on this as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission? The policy is in your hands to some extent. What are you going to do about this?
Well, I think that the department does a terrific job on providing recreation. You know, the city has over 1,200 acres of parks and recreation and athletic facilities. 440 some acres was provided in El Dorado Park, and I'm sure you're all familiar with it. I would point out to you folks that that acreage was provided by the citizens of Long Beach on a bond issue, and it was one of the really great things that the people put together for us on recreation. Sure, we don't have as much money as we had to provide for recreation, but the department is doing a great deal of volunteer work, and particularly in the field of cleanup and maintenance work. We have volunteers doing that. They have put the maintenance program on a computerized basis so that it can be followed up all the time. And I think our beaches and our parks and streets are maintained much better than they were years ago. I know what Clarence says is true. Next year, the school board has absolutely no money for recreation during the summer. So it is something that we're going to try and work on, and we've always had a good relationship. The Recreation Commission, through the last 50 years, has had both school people and council people and lay people on it. It was a joint board, and we used both the school facilities and park facilities jointly. And we still have a contract to do that, and we do that. So I think that through the years, as far as the quality of life goes, I think recreation and the parks is the number one item, because it reaches all facets of the community. Some of the arts are to specialized groups, but recreations, parks, and playgrounds are for everybody, and it should be our number one priority.
Well, what do you think of that, Mr. Brooks? That makes the art sound like an elitist sort of bunch of activities. Do you agree with that?
Well, I thought that the statement had some merit, not significant to the needs of a city like Long Beach. I would be remiss if I believe that as many people used what we know of as the arts groups, the major arts groups in Long Beach, namely ballet, light opera, opera, and symphony, as use the parks and recreation facilities of Long Beach, but they complement each other. And I would suggest that the same people use some of both. I should also be in a position to suggest that some people use none of the above. That is not the question. The question is, at what level should the quality of life in a first-rate city be? Should it exist? Should it be supported? And I am of the impression that we should do as much as we can to make the quality of life in a city such as ours as broadly based as we can, as accessible to as many citizens as we can, and of various degrees of significance. And of course, significance is rather subjective, but the choices should be there. And I appreciate your point of view, but I just think that we have to be more inclusive if we're talking about making the city broader in terms of what it provides for the citizens.
Well, that seemed to me like a gentle way to expand on that point of view. You mentioned, you used the term first rate. Do you see Long Beach as a first rate city in that regard?
I would certainly not take issue with Lindsay Shields, who's the executive director of the PCA, who you've heard speak to the issue and state that for a city its size, Long Beach does quite well.
Well, Florence is a small city too. Do you think that Long Beach has reached that status?
What kind of parks do they have, though?
A city of a particular size in a particular milieu, a particular environment. Florence, Italy has developed the way it has over many years, and with all sorts of help from wealthy merchants, from being at the crossroads of travel over centuries now, and with I would say, a government which has seen fit to foster the best that it could foster. And I'm glad that you mentioned it, because I think that's what Long Beach needs more of. We need a city where there is a very fine relationship and symbiotic relationship, if you please, between those who give to the arts of their own finances and resources, as well as the state. And the state, to me, meaning the city primarily, and the state, and the county, and the federal government.
So does it sound as if Long Beach could use a few more modern-day merchant princes to help it become more like Florence?
Yes, but what we have done in the PCA, we have advocated giving where persons with the means can give more, from corporate bodies, corporations in particular, that can do more. And at the same time, we believe that there should be broad-based support financially as well as at the participatory level in the arts. But I certainly will not leave without sharing with you that we would like to see the city government continue a trend which it started in about 1984 of giving serious support to the arts.
Mr. Garrett, how are the Merchant Princes doing by way of the Long Beach Museum of Art? You could use at least $2 million, as I understand
now
it.
you mention it, I think we probably could. I'm very interested in what's been said so far. The whole question about the quality of life, I think, is a very elusive and very difficult thing to define. And that all too easily one imagines the quality of life can kind of be measured against the sort of major arts offerings that there might be, or about the amount of grass space that there is. But actually, in the end, whether a person loves the city, whether they benefit from a city, whether they have a thrilling and exciting and creative time within the city, is almost certainly made up, obviously different in every single case, but is made up of a whole intermix of things, many of which are quite beyond the control, it seems to me, of authorities and major donors and so on. It's things like small clubs, it's things like small restaurants, it's things like places to sit about, it's places that are the way in which the configuration of the city is organized. I'm very much encouraged by the theme that the city has been pursuing of trying to revitalize downtown. It seems to me one of the most important aspects of the quality of life of a society is that it has a focus. It may, of course, then react that it doesn't want to be anywhere near the focus, wants to get away from the focus, as it were. But it gives a core, it gives a sense of community, which I think is extremely important. There's one other thing that I was interested in that was being discussed earlier, and it came up very much in the tape that we were watching, which was the whole matter about the relationship between Long Beach and Los Angeles. Because when I started working here 4 years ago, it intrigued me very much the degree to which a person would either say, I can't see much point in you trying to start up some sort of museum here, get a museum going and so on, when there are absolutely fantastic museums in Los Angeles of a variety of different kinds, of a quality, scale, and everything that you're never ever, however hard you work, going to match in Long Beach. You know, why don't you almost give up? And after all, LA isn't that far away, is it? The other line of thought says, you know, virtually to hell with LA. I mean, Long Beach has absolutely got to do its own thing, it's got to create its own stuff, and, you know, we can make it. Now, somewhere between those two, actually, is a lot of valuable friction in my mind. And that there should be a good deal of difficulty in some of the arts, certainly in our case, as far as the museum is concerned. There are a great number of difficulties in finding enough money to do what we would like to do, and in arousing community support and interest. But we've got to work for it. I mean, there's absolutely no way around that.
Mr. Levinson, from the point of view of a critic, how does all this look to you? Long Beach has reached or is reaching or hasn't a chance at becoming a first-rate city?
Maybe a perfectly marvelous city, but its problem, it seems to me, is the very thing that Lindsay Shields praised in that opening bit of puffery, which was that there ain't no other town this size that has all these things. That's the problem. It has all these things because it doesn't have any idea what it wants. And in each case, for no very good reason, it decided that what it wanted was an orchestra, for example. It wanted an orchestra because it had a theater, and the people who ran the orchestra said, well, we've always had this little orchestra for family and friends doing these haphazard performances in high schools, but now there's a big theater, we ought to have a different kind of orchestra. Let's hire someone to tell us what kind of orchestra it should be, who ought to be in it, what it ought to do. Now they have dispensed with the services of the guy they hired to do that, and they have engaged an artistic advisor from Pasadena to tell them what,
But I mean, when
what
you
they
talk
ought to
about
have.
they, who are you meaning by they?
In this case, the people who are running the orchestra.
But good luck to them, and good luck to somebody else who wants
Sure,
to do something.
good luck to all
somebody
of
else who
them,
wants to do something else,
except...
that they all trip over each other. Sure they do.
Yeah, but I think that in any town that has really successful arts ventures, it has them either because there's a long tradition of it, and there isn't that in Long Beach. Or because the town is isolated and it feels a need for these things.
But
And that's not the
initially it was
case in Long
because some
Beach.
individual or individuals wanted to do something.
Wanted to do something where if it's successful, it's because the individual or individuals had a passionate desire to do some particular thing, not to have an orchestra, not just to have a generalized opera company, but because the person wanted to have a Bach festival. He believed in Bach and there wasn't anybody around doing Bach. That's what makes the Bach Festival in Eugene, Oregon a success. The orchestra isn't a very great success in Eugene, Oregon. The Bach Festival is. The reason it's a success is because the people there, partly because somebody with a passion wanted to do a Bach festival.
Well, so would you suggest
Partly
that
because the town's isolated. There ain't nothing else for them to do there.
you're not suggesting that Long Beach is not, for better or worse, is not isolated, but are you
No.
suggesting that the orchestra be disbanded, or simply that
I
we
don't
lack
know. But
the equivalent of a
I
Bach
think
festival?
Long Beach has always had this tradition of having some music man come to town and tell it what it ought to do. There was a guy who drifted into town long before my time and said, what this city needs is a world fair. And I was in Reading at the time. Every week we received huge packets about the Long Beach World Fair. It's the most exciting thing that was ever going to happen to the United States. I don't believe the fair occurred, but the
Well,
press releases did.
That's the
Mr.
rich
Levinson,
diversity.
as a matter of fact, I've been
You were part of the World Fair?
in this city and was here when the World Fair was being promoted, but I came here in 1958. And for your, I will share with you that there was a symphony orchestra in Long Beach in 1958. This is 1988. That makes 30 years, so it didn't just start when some music
It
man...
did just
when
start.
some music man
It did
came
just
to town.
start. It was an
If-
altogether different operation.
Well, it was different, but it was still the Long Beach Symphony Orchestra.
I have
Now,
25 books at
it
home.
was
If I decide to
supplemented.
turn them into a massive library, it's not the same thing.
It
Well,
was
let's
supplemented.
hear, we're going to come back to this.
All right, very well.
We're going to come back to this, to the symphony and to some other subjects. But let's hear from Carla Gordon a little about her point of view. The Long Beach Ballet, another local arts group that almost didn't make it.
That's right. That's
And
right.
you helped see that it did make it.
We're making it. We're very successful right now. We have a great future ahead of us. But I beg to disagree with this gentleman. I feel very fortunate that I live in a community with 4 major arts groups and a multitude of others. I think it enhances our community and gives us a bright vision for the future of Long Beach. We're developing all kinds of buildings now, but you need a heart, you need a soul that goes behind those buildings and stands that gives passion to this city, and that's what the arts are going to do.
Well, what is the vision for Long Beach Ballet? To become an adequate regional company, a world-class company, or something in between?
Yes, we would like to see ourselves become a regional company. But in addition to being a regional production company, we would also like to see ourselves as an educational company which provides support for audience development. And through our educational outreach programs and our community outreach programs, which include free performances at different venues throughout the city or donated tickets to individuals who normally cannot support a ticket, cannot afford to come, we feel that we're doing a different kind of a service to the community other than being just a production company.
And how do you feel about some of the points that were made a moment ago, at least one of which is that one view is that Long Beach tends to spread itself a little thin and might be better served by putting resources into a tighter focus. And maybe that is a ballet company of world class rather than the wide variety of activities that are
Well,
going
we
on.
look to outside of Long Beach for support as well. In fact, for our Nutcracker audience, the demographics break down to about a third Long Beach, third Orange County, third greater Los Angeles area. So I think what we all need to do is market very, very heavily to the outside. And all of our arts groups carry something very unique. They have very unique characteristics, the opera, the ballet, that you can't find in LA. So let's market that uniqueness and bring in an audience from the outside.
So your personal opinion, Long Beach is or is not spread too thin
No,
culturally?
is not.
Is
Is
not.
not.
You like the way it's going?
Absolutely, I want to see it grow.
And you also are involved in the Public Corporation
That's right.
for the Arts?
That's right.
Newly involved. You're going to shake it up?
I think it's a good organization. It helped the Long Beach Ballet survive. And because of that, the support that was given, I am supporting that organization by being a member of the board. I want to see it participate more actively in the advocacy program and get the civic leaders involved in supporting the arts in Long Beach.
Good. We'll come back to these points in just a moment. We need to take a break now, but please rejoin us when we return. Well, we're back to resume our discussion of the quality of life in our community. Mr. Garrett, let me pounce on you. It has been suggested that the issue may not be whether Long Beach needs an orchestra or a museum, but what we ought to do with that museum, for example. Do you agree with that?
What we want to do with our museum?
But that's the real issue. In fact, you touched on it earlier.
Our charter, as it were, is absolutely clear. I mean, what we should do is to try and inform people about the visual arts. We have to do that in a way that is going to be approachable to them, conducive to them. We have to get them there. We have to show work that either they understand or don't understand. If they don't understand it, then we must help them to understand it. We must watch the quality of what we show them very carefully so that they begin to trust that we are indeed bringing in front of them things that are worthy of them. We should bring things from locally so that we are supporting local artists and showing them what, to a degree, they themselves are contributing towards. And we should bring work from outside so they can see what other people are doing, and we should show them a fair variety, and we should take the subject seriously. And it's very easy sometimes to think that in order to develop a really deep appreciation of something, you've got to do it with fireworks and neon lights and tricks and games and fun docents and so on. But you've got to be very careful about that.
Well, what about the Long Beach Museum of Art? To use a marketing buzzword, does it have a distinctive niche or a unique mission in
Not
purpose?
enough, but you are talking rather kind of marketing terms to me about that.
Or is it a generic museum?
No, it would be very helpful to us to begin to forge, and we have begun to forge it, a distinct identity, that a person would come to the Long Beach Museum of Art because it has a particular thing. It does, in fact, have a definite reputation, international reputation, as far as video is concerned. But video is a rather specialized art form, which not everybody is interested in. And it would help us. However, the general populace of Long Beach maybe is not interested in some specialized narrowish subject and would like us to treat it more broadly. But it would be helpful to us, as it would be to any marketing, as you say, any product. It is helpful, of course, to have a clear identity.
Carla Gordon, you were saying earlier this evening that in Cleveland, companies recruit from the Harvard Business School, for example, and went after your husband unsuccessfully, evidently. But nonetheless, they use the fact that Cleveland has a great symphony orchestra and other cultural advantages to attract talent to Cleveland. And you were saying that, in your opinion, that works. In fact, you saw that it works. Do you think that Long Beach has prospects in terms of generating that kind of cultural excitement at that level?
Well, actually, we
course,
have
it doesn't have
we
some
have the
advantages
ingredients. We do have the ingredients currently. but I really don't know if we have somebody that's going out and marketing Long Beach as being a cultural entity. Cleveland does so, and they do have their world-class symphony and their world-class ballet, and when they go, when corporations go to recruit, say, new residents to come to Cleveland and work in Cleveland, that is a major pitch. And I think it should be for Long Beach as well. A major advantage to coming and working in Long Beach should be that there is a large cultural vision here in Long Beach.
Well, if that needs to be done, who should do it?
I would like, well, that's one thing we're working on right now as a ballet company. I would like to see a collaboration, say, between the major arts groups and the Public Corporation for the Arts, as well as City Council and the developers that are coming into Long Beach, to say this is an advantage to living here.
And in terms of distinctive differences, Long Beach Ballet, which you're actively involved in, is that going to be a generic ballet company, or are you going to have some distinctive characteristics?
Well, we already do. We have a mark for ourselves. One of our big missions is to make our art accessible to the general public, and ballet does have a very bad image as being elitist. And our productions, if anybody's ever seen them, are not that elitist or snooty, and a general public can appreciate. They're kind of what I call half Disneyland and half ballet. But that is our mark. It really is. It's
Disneyland of the ballet. Well,
it's kind of it is. Our
yeah.
artistic director involved, David Wilcox, brings in a lot of special effects to entertain visually our public, as well as treat them to highly technical ballet.
Well, Mr. Brooks, if marketing is what the arts in Long Beach need, that's kind of your responsibility, isn't it?
Well, marketing in a city as large as Long Beach is everybody's business. But the PCA feels that it's part of our responsibility to show some leadership in this area. And one of the things that we did was to try to get money from the state, which in fact we did get a grant, which would have helped to finance a sign on the freeway, pointing out, very much as I guess it used to be, as a sign on the way to the Los Angeles, right near the Coliseum, right near the sports arena does, what's going on in sports in Los Angeles. A sign like that gets people to come who would not otherwise come, to go home perhaps and turn around and come back, because not many people, not as many as we think, read the newspapers or look at TV or listen to the radio, but most is learned through visuals. And a sign saying ballet in Long Beach Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week, without doubt, would entice some people to take advantage of that. But as it relates to marketing beyond that, Carl is absolutely correct. There are people now who, if they're about to make a home in Long Beach, are enticed to come because there are good schools, comparatively speaking. There are good neighborhoods, comparatively speaking. There are some arts and cultural considerations that they might take into account. And I think any realtor who sells to people who come here through corporate considerations will tell you that. Now, I want to make it clear that sometimes this is sort of an elitist appeal. It's an appeal to those people who can insist on good schools for their children, who have discretionary spending for the arts, if that's what it takes. But be that as it may, a community, to be a real strong community, has to have several levels of socio-economic populace. And without some of these people who would not live in a city that did not have the best schools possible, the most opportunities to enjoy some art and culture, without some of that, we'd lose some good people who are coming here, plus some people who might have left. So Long Beach has a niche because, as has been pointed out in this group, we draw from the area north of us, the area to the east of us, Orange County, to the west of us, Palos Verdes and Los Angeles and Torrance. So we have to take advantage of that. I think it pays off. Someone has indicated that for every dollar spent in the arts, there's about a $6 return. I'm not sure that that can be easily documented, but it comes from the federal study, and I have no reason to disbelieve it. There were more people downtown spending money when we have artistic presentations than there are at any other time.
Well, I think there's no question in the minds of any of us, while we're talking about the quality of life, of course, it's the broader subject, but while we're on the arts, that they are reaching a relatively narrow spectrum, that the ballet and the opera and the symphony and the museum are really not overwhelmed with ticket buyers from a large segment of the community. What about dealing with the issue that Councilman Smith raised earlier of trying to broaden that base some? Don't the arts groups have a responsibility to reach out?
On that. I think that you were talking about outreach. I think that politically and otherwise that we must find ways of reaching out and having the broader community to learn to appreciate the various arts that we have by giving them an opportunity to come down and view the arts, an opportunity and during outreach work coming in and putting on performance in the community, or assisting nonprofit organizations developing classes within the Parks and Recreation Department, using some of the expert in the areas of visual and creative arts to assist young people and young adults in terms of what the arts is all about. Because when it comes to voting on the arts, sometimes if you vote on the arts in terms of giving city dollars, realizing that your community that you represent directly would not going to benefit, but indirectly they will. And sometimes it's hard for folks to see the indirect benefit.
Should there be a way from the benefit directly? Should you offer some free performances?
That's what I'm talking about. I'm saying that you need to do more outreach. Those groups need to do more outreach into the community, work with nonprofit organizations to create the little playhouses or whatever you want to call it into the parks where they have put on art shows, assist with art shows, and those kind of things, because there are some of those kids in the community are very artistic. They just need some guidance and some direction. And I think that that we can just work and bring them into the fold, it will be easier for the city in total to be some more supportive of the arts, as Joe Brooks indicated, that most of the people that come to the to take part in the art shows and the performance downtown, or as to buy tickets, come from either Palo Verde or Naples or some other place, and we need to broaden that base so that we can get a large percentage from North Long Beach, West Long Beach, Wrigley District.
Well, on that point, Mr. Williamson, you're in a policy position when it comes to parks and recreation. You want to spend some of your money that way?
We have very little money. That's our problem. And we just keep hoping that
would you like to reallocate some of that
come up with a little money here and there, because we're spread awfully thin. We have lots of parks, and we have lots of programs, we have lots of ball fields, and they've all got to be cleaned up after everyone.
How far down the list are the arts? How much money would you have to have before you put some into the arts?
Well, I think that the department, as Councilman says, we do little artwork along with everything else. But I think we might even have some ballet railings around, too, in some of the community rooms.
We have some of our dancers currently working, actually they're working in Los Angeles, funded through programs from the Recreation Department and the anti-drug, anti-gang departments, to work with the gangs and to teach them dance and ballet. And one of these projects was written up in the LA Times recently because one of our soloists taught a very violent group of gang members. She choreographed a new Sleeping Beauty, and they were part of that production. And this is the kind of thing that we would like to see more of happening in Long Beach, where we involve our professional art staff with the children of Long Beach to provide.
I think that's the key. If
Yes,
most of these organizations can do that, just reach back and bring somebody along, some young kid that maybe would not get that opportunity, but yet has the interest and the ability, and all he or she needs is someone to just introduce it to them and to bring it out. And we haven't done a lot of that. And I'm not down in our recreation department. Based on the dollars that they have in that department, they've done a terrific job. But just the dollars are not there. And once we get a few more dollars there, and then get all the groups in the city working together and trying to turn this thing around, I think we'll have something. But
well, let's Mr. Blowitz, you're not going to get off the hook this easily. What's your responsibility as a publisher of a weekly newspaper? To observe and report, or do you have some further obligation?
No, in our neck of the woods, we view our obligation as the flag waver. We're the prod. We take it as our responsibility to describe, artistically or quality of life what's available, and go beyond just describing what's available, but kind of nudging them. This is what it is, and this is when and where it is, and you ought to go there. That's kind of what we're saying. I found the earlier conversations interesting and frustrating. It's kind of like what we were just, Clarence and Carla were talking about, is kind of the trickle-down theory, pardon the expression, where, as I see it, the more successful our arts groups get, and we're basically talking about the four performing arts, the more that does trickle down on a broader base. If what David says is that our orchestra isn't top-notch, well, maybe it's not top-notch, but they're good enough to survive and produce kinder concerts. And our ballet company has gone through some rough financial times, and they're out there in the community. And our opera company is, this far from bankrupt, if not totally, and yet they're still performing. And from those performances of all of the groups that take place in the Terrace Theater, there are 2 or 3 times as many that take place in parks and high schools and junior high schools and elementary schools. And so we have a situation where if Cleveland has a great orchestra and a great ballet company, but who wants to live in Cleveland? Long Beach has got all the rest, and we can point to the merchant princes who might provide the money for the museum or the ballet or the orchestra or for the parks or whatever by giving them the whole plethora of quality of life items. You want a ballet company, we have a ballet company, opera, symphony, civic light opera, parks, water, education. Long Beach has it all. I maintain that gets that person it's a toss-up between Cleveland's orchestra and ballet to Long Beach's orchestra and ballet, who might not have the same renown or respect of the critics, but we've got them, and they're certainly respectable. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with the critics. As I said earlier, they all have to keep striving for more quality, and critics get them there.
Let's ask this critic, Mr. Levinson. What's your responsibility? Is it merely to criticize? Point out faults, or what can you do?
Criticism, I think, is basically a reporting job. It should let people know what it was like in a particular hall on a particular night with a particular performance. You add it all up, and it gives them some chart of where that particular aspect of the cultural life is. I don't know what else it is.
Can a music critic also suggest a way for an orchestra to take over a longer term, do you think? Or should it be limited to individual performances and seasons?
I don't know that critics ought to tell orchestras what they should be doing. But unfortunately, there is nobody else to tell them in Long Beach. There isn't some feeling that what we want to do is present the music of California composers, or what we want to do is present chamber music that isn't
you're a
otherwise
marketer.
done.
You're
or
looking for
whatever.
a distinctive niche then, in that sense.
Well, I'm looking for somebody who wants to do something. I don't think it's a question of... Long Beach is forever looking for the market. I mean, the university had a radio station. It brought in somebody from Washington, D.C., who, before he ever arrived, looked at Southern California radio stations on FM and said, what Long Beach needs is an FM radio station that presents jazz. So that's what they got. Nobody in Long Beach said that's what we want. Nobody even at the university said that's what we want. A guy from Washington, D.C. said that's what you want. And Long Beach said, oh, is that what we want?
Let me interject.
Just like the World Fair.
We are just about out of time. We have just enough time for each of you to take one final shot. Do you want to go first, Mr. Levinson? What is your final, in a minute or less, your final
I just
benediction?
think that if all these people planned on being dictators, which they ought to be, they ought to figure out what Long Beach really ought to do. I don't think the councilman ought to say, well, we can make people like the orchestra if only it goes out and plays in the parks once in a while. He ought to say, do we need an orchestra? Maybe we ought to find a way to get the schools to put more money into educating the kids. Maybe we ought to put the money into arts in the schools or whatever. Instead of just being a bunch of boosters, I think people ought to figure out what it is they really want and then get it and then boost it.
Mr. Garrett, you look like you're ready for your parting
some kind
shot.
of great guru can kind of tell Long Beach what will be wonderful for it. I think that is absolutely the wrong approach. I think that the right approach is utterly to give every kind of encouragement to every kind of artist who believes that they have got something that they want to do, to get on and do it. And having done it, then hopefully the kids that the councilman was talking about earlier and the public generally will get an opportunity to see what they can see. Again, we keep on thinking that the only thing that is worth doing is if it is absolutely the best. Of course, one aims for the best, but the fact is that even if it isn't the best, a great deal of good can come from it.
Mr. Brooks, what is your parting shot? And bearing in mind
Mine-
that our viewers may like to hear what you think they ought to do about this.
Well, I think, as of this moment, I think it would be good for our viewers to let the council know that they want as good a city as the council can afford for us to have. But having said that, I must take this opportunity to suggest that in addition to the 4 major arts groups, those that have some professional staff, the PCA has a very close relationship with 20 other, what we call community groups. We offer them technical assistance to keep them from going broke, out of business, as we do the majors, for that matter. We make sure that all of the groups have outreach and have free tickets for seniors and juniors, children, and we encourage those groups to bring into a type of internship. And we have very close cooperation. We insist that there be it on a growing level, these arts groups with the education group of Long Beach, called the school district. So I just want to add that, and I've wasted the time that I really want to get on the soapbox by having to make some explanations. Thank you, anyway.
Well, 2 seconds, 5 seconds. What's a quick shot?
The quick shot is that Long Beach has potential yet unfulfilled, and every good citizen wants as much potential fulfilled in his community or his city as is humanly possible. Nothing less is acceptable.
Good. Mr. Williamson, what is your comment?
I agree with that statement entirely. We want to have as good a city as we can, and all of the arts are important. Recreation perhaps is a little more important to me because I've been working with it for so long, and it does reach an awful lot of people. We've got a lot of problems with it, and they will eventually, I hope, work out. But the city needs all of us to give us a quality city.
Good. Councilman, what is your
Well, I think really Long Beach is on the move, and that the arts that's going in Long Beach I think is really it's good for our city, And I think we need to make sure that we accent each and every one of those arts program and each element of the community to get them involved in the arts program. I think our city is going to be much stronger when as many people in our city become participants in the arts program. Well, we do not have to necessarily concern ourselves in a large extent from folks coming outside. We'd like to have them come in, and I think they should come in. But I think if we build a foundation of working together in the arts field and make sure that every element of our community is involved in the process, that our arts, which I think is the backbone of any culture, any city, will be great. And I think we're on the road to do that.
Mr. Blowitz, what's your last word?
Well, you know, to continue the Freddie the flag waving routine here, I too agree with Joe. We've got it great here. Not that we can't get better, and not that it's not available to everybody, but I come from the San Fernando Valley and the west side of LA, which is all part of LA, and so that we had the symphony was the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and all the parks and recreation and zoo and all of that. But that wasn't a city, and that was spread out, and I dare say to find the 20-plus groups, community arts groups that the PCA supports in Los Angeles, the city of, is an hour drive to get to them, and how are you going to find out about them? We have them all right here. They're well publicized. If people don't take advantage of them, they're making a big mistake.
Good. Carla Gordon, what do you have to say?
Well, first of all, as an arts administrator, I want to say that I'm grateful to the city for funding a great percentage of their budget to the arts. In return, we do return to our community through our educational programs and our community outreach programs. I would like to see that continue and even expand to a greater degree. I think arts are essential to the fabric of this community and must survive.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Our city is going to be about as good as you and we decide to make it in terms of the quality of life, parks, recreation, and the arts. And you've had a little wisdom and a little advice on what you and we can do about it. Thank you for joining Long Beach 2000.